Welcome to The Last 50 Feet, the podcast about what happens when autonomous vehicles actually arrive at the curb. Every week, we get into what is moving in autonomous commerce, what's stalling, and who's building what next. No fluff, all signal, and we keep it brief. That's our thing. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to The Last 50 Feet. I am super excited. I'm producer Kyle, and I'm not usually on the mic as much, but we have Ben, our CEO, who's always here. And today we have Michelle, who is our first female guest on the podcast. So I'm so excited to have Michelle. She's one of our investors at Draper, and we have a lot to discuss. And Ben and you guys were already talking about things, and I said, hold on. Stop talking. We need to just jump right into it. So first, Michelle, do you want to tell us about yourself and who you are, where you got to where you are today?
Yeah. How far back do you want me to go?
As far as you can reach. No, whatever you feel comfortable talking about.
Yeah, sure. I'll try to keep it brief. I did my undergrad in medical sciences back in Canada at Western University. I ended up working at Bumble and an alcohol company at that time, learned about entrepreneurship, thought that was cool. So I entered a Founders Accelerator, ended up starting a company out of that. It was a platform that connected female founders and students through virtual career experiences, built that for 2.5 years, and was lucky enough to go through an early stage acquisition. Ended up working at a company after that called On Deck in Silicon Valley and helped build out different like venture arms of On Deck, like On Deck. I started with On Deck Longevity Biotech, but I worked in special projects. So like On Deck, we worked on Deck EdTech and FinTech and Climate Tech and all these different communities, which was really awesome. Got to meet all kinds of founders along the way. Ended up working actually for the chief project officer of Tinder after that. And after he left to start his own company. And a couple other startups along the way. Have been in startups my whole career, and went to Columbia for business school, where I decided VC is what I wanted to do. I had been a founder, a startup operator, and wanted to go into VC. Worked at SOSV while I was at Columbia, and Draper found me because I was posting about my crazy ideas that Ben and I have talked about, which I don't know if I can talk about all of them all the time, but Draper, obviously we invest in the wild, the weird, the unconventional. And I'd like to think that that's what I think about all the time. So it's definitely my dream job. Now I invest in the crazy companies of the future, like Autolane here at Draper.
Now I want to know, what are your craziest ideas?
Well, I mean, I can share the craziest ideas that we've already invested in. I was talking about like artificial womb technology, and we already invested in that. We were the first investor in that company. It's still in stealth. We invested in a company that we call it bag of organs here at Draper, to solve for organ transplant. We invest in like limb regeneration using bioelectric signals. So if anybody has ever lost their limbs, we will do that, or like complete scarless skin healing. So like anything that really resembles the future. I'm looking at a company right now that is building the infrastructure for the internet, but in space. So we live in space, and we needed, how am I going to watch my Netflix? You know what I mean?
Wild.
You invested in bringing back the giant moa bird or something like that? The dino wolf also, but what's the one that they want to go after now? Some extinct bird that's like 12 feet tall bird? Or something. Yeah, the dodo bird or the moa.
Yeah, colossal biosciences. We invested in an another one that does animal embryo editing, but at scale. So a lot of companies can embryo edit or try to trial and error embryo edit one embryo at a time, but this company that we invested in recently can do it to multiple embryos at a time, and they're starting with horses, so like performance horses.
Whoa.
This is making me feel very normal about our business for the first time.
Yeah, so when
I
met Ben, I met Ben, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense.
Built some software to connect a self-driving car to a Walmart, and that's it.
Honestly, you
got him.
You're talking about a lot of health too. I'm curious, like, what made you interested in our autonomous vehicle infrastructure? It's quite different than a lot of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think uh, it's more broadly that we just want to invest in the future. A
Mm,
lot of the future right now that I'm thinking about has to do with health, just because that's just something that definitely impacts all humans.
hmm
Um, but I think what underlies everything that we invest in is who are the founders who are thinking about a future that will impact all of us. And it's a future that not a lot of other people are thinking about. I think very often the founders that I meet are the ones that are building in bio, that are just like building in crazy bio that otherwise people aren't thinking about. But I think Ben was one of the people that I met that I was like, a lot of people are not getting this. Like a lot of people are not understanding that in a world where 70%, 80% of the vehicles are autonomous, we are going to need to figure out how to orchestrate them. We are going to need to figure out, like, I'm so lazy. I want to figure out how to send my car to go get my Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? Like, I immediately understood what he was going after. But when I talked to other people and other VCs, other founders, and I realized they couldn't even like fathom that future, I knew that there was something there. Like, yeah, we talk about it all the time at Draper that if there's some sort of controversy at IC, if there's some sort of controversy when you're talking to other people about an idea, if if some people aren't even understanding that future, then there actually is something there. Like you are seeing a future that
Profound. Yeah. I mean, I can speak kind of in that same realm because when I joined the team, Ben and Andy talked to me and I was like, they kind of explained to me, like, we're kind of like creating what is something that no one's ever done. And I've never worked for a company where it wasn't a repeatable product. And so that was super exciting to me too. Um, you are a female in VC, and I feel like that's kind of an anomaly in itself. And I just want to know, what that's been like. And one of the things you did was create connection for other badass women, like networking and stuff. So I would just love to hear your take on being a female in your industry.
Yeah, I think at the beginning it was a lot harder. I think one of the reasons why we started the company Flick at the beginning was it was difficult to find other women in VC, especially those who were at the top deploying capital. It was difficult to find other female founders who had raised money and who had raised like large amounts of money that we could learn from. And so that's one of the reasons that we started that company to begin with, just to be able to learn from those women. And also create a platform, like a media platform like this, where we could go and interview those women, learn from them. And I think as I continued to build out that network, build out a brand for myself, learn from other people, and like I said, I ended up bouncing around the startup ecosystem, building out a network at On Deck, building out a network as a founder myself, building out a network as a startup operator, and I was able to work with a lot of founders who are quite well known. And now as a VC, I feel a lot more assured in who I am. And I don't feel the same as I did back then when I was walking into those rooms. I think there's definitely still disparities, and I still it still comes to my mind. Like I want to be able to help other women come into the space. I think it's definitely getting better, and people are definitely noticing it more. But I think that as long as we continue building these networks, being open, having these conversations, and people are just like, honestly, the people that helped me the most were the people who were just down to chill and talk. Like it wasn't like a very formal conversation. It was just, let's just talk like humans. And then we just stayed in touch and continued to be friends. And I try to do that for like the interns that work with me, the people that I continue to talk to and network with. As long as we continue to do that and you continue to build confidence in yourself, you don't walk into these rooms thinking, oh, I'm like the only woman here. You walk in being like, I know I can bring value here. I know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know the brand that I built for myself. I know that I deserve to be here. And I feel so much more like that now. And
Mm.
I don't even think about that as much. And I know what I felt like back then. I think about that like at the end of each day, every day, but not in the moment, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think that's just career life in general, right? Like when you first start anything brand new, you're starting from scratch and you feel like a newbie and you have to cut your teeth a bit and trip and fall and find yourself. I think as women sometimes it can be more interesting because we have to do it gracefully and in a skirt or a beautiful dress. But I think yeah, everything you said is pretty poignant. I
I think
have
that's one thing I'm excited about that, you know, we put together last year was not only Michelle led our pre-seed, but Samara Gordon from Hyperplane led the seed. And so we had kind of, you know, two of the first two board members from the investment side to join Autolane are female. And
Woo.
that's also probably pretty rare for an early stage company. And so shout out Samara as well as, you know, being a really strong voice in the industry. And the way I think about it, and we're starting to see this in the early days of the Austin operation, is this is actually a very harsh and profound lesson that I have been dealing with. And I think I talked about this last podcast or two before. You and I talked about it last week, Kyle, but you don't know how your product or idea or service is going to be used or valued or you know, kind of considered until you see it in the real world and you start to see how normal people or different types of people than you think of it and why they want it and what they're going to use it for. And oftentimes there's a lot of examples of this in business history where the people who came up with the idea initially or kind of worked, you know, to make this thing and bring it to the real world, what they think it's used for or why they built it or what their idea was turns out to be quite different than what the general populace thinks about it. And particularly with the Austin supervised autonomous delivery operation, we're seeing that as all types of people use the autonomous delivery service that we've built, it's speaking to people in very different ways. And so having an expanded set of voices and mindsets around the company and inside the company is super important. And I think that's, when you say it, it's obvious. But if you look at corporate boardrooms, enterprise companies, you look at the VC community writ large, that's not really what even though I think most people would agree with that statement, you don't see that reflected in teams, you know, at some of these companies. And I've certainly honed in on that recently to understand that we need to continue to bring in people from all types of backgrounds and expertise and walks of life and nationalities and gender, because you will learn very important insights about how we need to continue to build Autolane, which then leads to market success. And I think so many people in my position build in a vacuum, like, okay, I thought of this, I'm going to build it. It makes sense to me. Here's what it's going to be. Here's how we're going to talk about it. And they just force feed that to the general public, and they don't want to take any critique or feedback or accept other people's ideas of how it could be, because it's kind of their baby. And that is a really important thing for Autolane to internalize as we go forward, that we need to have all types of voices, and the more the better, because it'll allow us to build the right products, market correctly, find out where the value is being generated, and be a lot more efficient and successful. So it's important to me.
Well said. Okay, we got to do like a fun question, Michelle. I read and you corroborated, but your 4 hidden instrumental talents. I thought it was 3, and then you added drums in there and I was dead. So you play piano, violin, drums, and guitar. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, but sure. And I wanted to know this summer, what's one that you're playing on repeat?
Like, what? Okay, your question was what song?
Yeah.
What? Oh, like, did you mean what song on the instrument?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. That's an interesting question. So actually, I'm gonna
Or
not.
genre,
So
maybe your
actually,
genre.
so my favorite thing to do is I ask my friends like, what's a pop song that you want played, and then I'll play it. I can play any pop song back in 5.
What do you
On what
mean?
instrument?
Like on all
Like
of
mostly, yeah, pretty much on all of them, but mostly on the piano because like that's the one that is like the most holistic, obviously. But if it's like a guitar like pop song, then yeah, then I can usually
So you
play
can
that.
just hear it. You don't need sheet music or anything like that, and then you just jump right
No.
in. And
Oh, ice cream delivery. Thanks.
I mean, that was well timed. Okay, did
Andy,
you?
where's my ice cream?
Yeah, seriously.
That was one of my MBA interns. Absolutely fantastic. They're building a ton of our AI right now. Shout out.
And ice cream deliveries, because why not? Did you figure out that you could play all these instruments by choice? Were you forced to learn the instruments?
I was forced when I was younger. Yeah. Obviously I came from a super like traditional Chinese family, so obviously we were forced to play when we were younger, like piano, violin. I've been playing piano since I can remember, probably since I was me and my brother since we were 3 years old or something.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
violin since we were 5 or 6. And I was a concert master of my orchestra when I was 16, maybe.
Wild.
I have been able, me and my brother, like my dad has perfect pitch. My brother and I have relative pitch, so we can both do this where it's not, we can't do it with classical music. My dad can do it with classical music and probably jazz music. But my brother and I can do it with pop music because we're simple people, you know? So you can, yeah, like people play like Justin Bieber, or one of my coworkers' kids was like, "Oh, can you play Pink Pony Club?" And then it will take me 5 minutes, like properly 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
give me 5 minutes, and then yeah, I'll play back Pink Pony Club. I was playing that there's this Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Is that
Like,
Elvis Presley?
yeah, Elvis Presley. Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing that on the guitar for one of my friends for her bachelorette.
Nice.
Because there was a guitar there, and she was like, "Will you play for me?" And so I played that.
This is your party trick. This is like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
you got a
It's
piano
always been-
there? Let me jump on it real quick. What
Yeah,
song?
yeah.
What song do you want to hear? Crowd? And
Yeah, just get me a bottle of wine, and then that's my party trick.
Do you sing too, or is it just the instruments?
No, don't get me to sing. That is not one of my talents.
It's 2 bottles of wine.
Yeah, I don't even know about any bottle of wine will get me there.
God,
Ben,
I can't even play the kazoo, so this is not a
another thing that I could do is
you're a kazoo master.
Yeah,
seriously.
Okay, so I can do the kazoo, and the guitar at the same time, and then I can play. There's this video of this. It was because there was this video of this girl playing, like the song "Isn't She Lovely?"
Yeah.
You know that song.
Yeah.
On the kazoo and the guitar at the same time. I thought it was so cool. That day, I went out and got a kazoo, and I was like, "I bet I could do this." And then I like
mastered it. Yeah.
And I did it, and then I was like, "Now what do I do with this?"
That's wild. I love when people have these like, I mean, you're in a powerful, awesome job, and then you just have these wild hidden talents. That's like the layers of humans are the best. I'm going to throw it to another question that I sent over to you. Okay, so we've been trying to think of like a fun way to figure out how to incorporate AI and tech, and I thought, what's like a favorite movie or show that depicts AI and tech? It can be recent, it can be like way back. But is there a favorite show or movie that depicts AI and tech that you
when I read this question, the first movie that popped up, even though I haven't watched it recently, was the movie Meet the Robinsons.
Oh, cute. That's a great pick.
Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, that's a great pick. Okay, what was it about it? And that's why you decided we need to partner with Autolane.
I just think it's just the mindset. Like, I think it's a very Draper mindset of, he's just this, like, Lewis is just this kid, I think his name is Lewis, that believes he can create this memory machine. Like, he's just a kid. And he just believes he can create this machine that nobody else has created before. And that is, like, so the Draper mindset of, no matter who you are, what you have access to, what resources you have, you just believe that you can create. And then he, like, goes to this futuristic world and sees this whole world. And I was like, that's my future. When I was watching it, I was like, it's going to be all these, like, autonomous flying cars everywhere. And I just thought that was, I really vividly remember watching that movie. I don't really remember the movie that well.
Yeah.
But I remember loving that movie at the time and being like, I'm also going to invent stuff like this that's going to change the world. I'm going to invent the time machine or something.
That's an adorable pick. I really appreciate that call out. Ben, do you know the movie that she's talking about?
I know of it. I'm trying to recall the details, but I can't, unfortunately.
Dude, you should watch it. It was
with your
so
boys.
Inspiring. Yeah.
It so sounds like my boys for sure.
Yeah, it's so cute, and I think it ends up being like it's his family that he goes to see, right? Like, that's what it ends up being, or something. There's something in there where he's like, wait, you're like my dad or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it's like really, really cute.
And then he, like, saves his, like, roommates, and his roommate, I thought it was, like, so cute.
Yeah,
just, like,
he was sad. He was really sad.
Sad and cute. Yeah. And he's also an inventor, and I think it ends up being an inventor for good as well.
Yeah.
Know. It's a great movie. I think, yeah.
That's a great pick. Ben, what do you want to know about Michelle? Those were like my populated questions that I came up with. I wanted to ask too with Ben, you've got the floor. Actually, let me let you have space.
No, what were you going to say? You wanted to know what?
I've been holding the conversation, which is not my typical, but I guess
that's good. You're doing great.
I'm so excited.
You were about to say something though. You cut yourself off.
Yeah.
It sounded spicy.
No, I was just thinking, like, is there a world? How was I going to frame this? Is there a world where you integrate our tech with I don't know. I was thinking about the organs, and I was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna start autonomously delivering
the organs,
specialty organs
for fast organ transplant?
Yeah, no, I love these kinds of concepts. Like, I think we're starting in a point where it's, like, obviously, like, consumer based, and I think Ben has talked about how, like, we want to be philanthropic. We want to do for good, and I've been in a bunch of organizations where it's been like, rush, hurry, and you're like, we're like selling coffee, and it's like, okay, we're not like saving the world. I think right now.
Ultimately, ultimately the sky's the limit with where Autolane can go, right?
Yeah.
We're building the orchestrating layer that is allowing autonomous vehicles to deliver anything, anywhere. And that can be anything. Like, I met a synthetic blood company yesterday, and that has life-saving applications as well, because apparently in 2030 we're going to be running out of donor blood. So what if we need to be quickly shipping synthetic blood, and the only way to do it is via fleets of autonomous vehicles that and we're using Autolane to do that? What if it's these organ transplants and we need the fleets of autonomous vehicles to do that, because that's just the fastest way to do it, and there's already lanes that there's already lanes at every hospital. We're just going to be slotted in there immediately. I think there's just like, we're just on the ground floor of what's possible at Autolane. Like I said, I do spend a lot of my time thinking about bio just because that's one of the ways that we can be saving humanity, but there's so many ways that we can be folding in Autolane to be saving humanity as well. You know?
Yeah, I think that's...
Ready for 3 other things that I constantly think about, or I have since the beginning?
Yeah.
Libraries.
Explain.
Libraries don't do delivery.
Oh, okay.
Why don't they?
Let's
because that would be
educate
expensive.
the masses.
That would be expensive. And what if you had a cloud library run by the city of New York that wasn't actually a place that you could go physically check out a book, but it was more like a warehouse?
Ooh.
And you could order whatever book that the library had, and it would be delivered to you for free in an autonomous vehicle. Just imagine how many people physically can't go to a library, or it's expensive to go to the library, or they don't have time to go to the library.
Yeah.
Or, it's hard for them to do so. It's probably a lot of people, and thus they don't go. And so then if you can't physically go to the library, largely you then can't get books for free. You then have to buy books, which that's probably friction for a lot of people also. So if you're then going to have to buy books and you're like, and I'm fine, I'm not going to buy this book because I don't want to spend money on this right now, but I would read this book if it were free, but I can't get to the library because it's 30, like in Kyle's case, lots of services and businesses are far from her home. And so then you're in this position where I think just imagine what it would do for books. Think about, we already do this, but this is going to be an incredible application someday when it's fully autonomous and at scale, which is food banks, Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
The largest cost, we already partner with Meals on Wheels, shout out to them in San Francisco. And the largest expense by far of the entire Meals on Wheels international organization is the delivery cost, because they have to buy the vehicles, maintain the vehicles, and then they have to hire drivers, insure those drivers. And most of their annual budget at a Meals on Wheels location goes to delivery costs. Now imagine you can utilize autonomous vehicles at very low cost, at scale. Then you think about food banks. Food banks are fantastic concepts and organizations, but have the same challenge, which is like, how do you actually... Receiving the food is not the issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's distributing the food to the people who need it. That is the issue, and where the cost lies.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be largely eliminated. We worked with Replate, which does food waste distribution from like stadiums and hospitals and restaurants who have all this excess capacity, catering, like Facebook, offices, what have you. All of that food goes to waste. This company collects that food when it's still able to be redistributed, and redistributes it to shelters and all types of places to people who need it. And it's really great food. But what's the cost of that? It's all delivery cost. And so the amount of food that we waste is directly tied to delivery cost of redistributing that food. Think about farms. Like if you really spend time considering the outcomes here, they are absolutely mind-bending. And that's why I built this business.
Pretty much everything needs to be delivered.
Why does a farmer have such a tough existence? Because they have to sell to a wholesaler, who then sells to a distributor, who then sells to a grocery store. By the time you buy that $9 salad from Whole Foods, maybe probably $15 in New York City, the farmer who grew those vegetables, hopefully somewhere close to New York City, probably got $2 of that $15, maybe less. And so if you think about like meat, and you think about vegetables and all of that, the reason and milk, like the old milkman days, the reason we can't get access to affordable food is because of transportation costs. and delivery costs. Like why couldn't you in the future send your autonomous vehicle out while you're at work to a farm in upstate New York, collect your milk, collect your meat, collect your vegetables. It goes to 3 different farms, does that every single Monday morning, drives back to your house. It's in your driveway. When you come home, pop the trunk, get your stuff. Boom. Like the idea of a grocery store, like there's so many things. Obviously this sounds far out, but doesn't matter. The point is we only use some of these systems like a library because we don't have free autonomous delivery. You end up with like a crazy scenario where we're all just directly connecting with each other, or we're getting access to things that we could never get access to because of the cost of delivery.
Mm. We're totally at the ground floor of what Autolane is possible to orchestrate.
That's the fun. The stuff I love thinking about is you work backwards from what can't you do today because of the cost of delivery and transportation, and then find out what those things are, and then say, well, what if the cost of delivery and transportation applied to this thing that isn't possible today, reduced by 90%? What things then would be possible in that world? And you're like, wow, actually, most things, because the price of goods and services is largely transportation.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Anyways, guys, I have to bounce because I have another call.
No, we appreciate your taking the time. We know we went a little bit over our 30-minute mark, and
I think your ice cream melted, unfortunately.
Yeah, also my ice cream's melting.
I think that's what you're really talking about.
If people want to find you, where can they find you? Is LinkedIn the best place, or X? Where are you at?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best place. Yeah, and you can give me ice cream.
Okay. Favorite flavor ice cream? Last question.
Honestly, vanilla.
What?
Wah, wah,
What a lame response.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I just like simple things.
You can edit that out, Kyle. Just edit it out. Put an AI filter over her and make it say
thanks for
confetti
being here, Michelle. We
birthday
really
cake.
appreciate you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks for joining.